Hi, welcome to the Fortunacy Vibes Global Podcast Series, where we connect with visionary leaders shaping a smarter, more resilient, and more sustainable world. I'm your host, Rashika, and in each episode, we explore the decisions, innovations, and leadership philosophies that are redefining the future of business. Today, we are honored to speak with a leader whose career spans continents, industries, and transformational milestones. Joining us is Sangeeta Acharya, the Chief Financial Officer at Sanofi Philippines, a strategic finance leader with over 25 years of experience across India, Singapore, Paris, and the Philippines. Sangeeta has led businesses with turnovers exceeding £300,000, championed global finance transformation initiatives, pioneered AI-driven solutions, and built high-performing multicultural teams across healthcare, media, and manufacturing. Sangeeta, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Rasika. A pleasure to meet all of you and be here on this event with Fortinus Group. So, hi everyone. I'm Sangeeta Acharya, and I'm an Indian, and I currently am working as the Chief Financial Officer for Sanofi Philippines and based out of Manila.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So now let's just jump into today's discussion. Sangeeta, you have built a truly global finance career across India, Singapore, Paris, and now the Philippines. So how has this international experience shaped your approach to financial leadership?
You know, Rasika, I think every time I have packed my bags, for moving to a next country, there is always a voice inside me and around me saying, everything is going well. Why do you want to leave? So it's moving from these comfort zones where I think careers really grow. But again, it doesn't come easy for someone who's coming from a country where we really value being together with family, etc. Taking career leaps outside of one's own country doesn't come very easy. But at the same time, numbers tell universal stories. So when you have a background in finance, I think that's a kind of, I would say, a privilege that I have to move across industries and across countries a little more seamlessly. And it's also about, I think, able to understand from different cultural perspectives what people really look at. For me, moving across continents, etc., it wasn't just about career advancement. It was about calculated risk taking and also embracing discomfort as I was really looking at it as a growth catalyst. And one of the other key things which I would like to really say, the diversity of perspectives which I have absorbed as a result of these different career moves, it helps me see a lot of opportunities where maybe a few of them only look at it as challenges. So whether it's financial leadership or any other, functional leadership, I would say leadership is basically leadership, and geographical mobility only reinforces that authentic leadership can really transcend borders. It's about showing up as your genuine self everywhere.
What a milestone you have achieved, Sangeeta. All right, so we need to take the second question. Sangeeta, you have led transformation initiatives in diverse industries, from healthcare to manufacturing. In your view, what are the key ingredients for driving successful, sustainable business transformation?
I think transformation, Rasika, today is more like, a buzzword, and you see it happening around everywhere. So any industry, you pick up any country, everywhere around us, I think it's all about transformation story, and why not? I would like to echo that change is the only constant. We've heard it so many times that probably it's become more like a regular proverb for us than even a mantra. But at the same time, what happens with transformation? It's really about challenging status quo. So for me, it's about the why, which needs to be very clear whenever we go through any kind of transformations. And maybe it's people before processes. So what we also need to understand. And for me, what has helped to drive successful transformations is to be able to provide this clarity of purpose so that everybody understands not just the what of the transformation, but the why behind it. Secondly, I think the key success ingredient for all transformations is it's about people. It's people before processes. So most of the transformations, and I think we have a lot of statistics which says, 75% or 80% of the transformations really fail because we don't really focus on the people that are really impacted by and impacting the change both ways. So I think it's the transformation, best of the best strategies of transformation, they fail when we only focus on systems, etc. I think for me, a successful transformation is all about humans first, and then also secondly, it's about embracing technology as an enabler, not seeing it as something as the end goal in itself. It's a tool, and we need the humans to support us in order to really have a successful transformation. So you can, like they say, the best of strategy in the world can be there in a PowerPoint deck, and it will stay in a PowerPoint deck if you don't have the people believing in that one. And they also say culture, really has strategy for breakfast. So I think it speaks volumes about how if you don't embed the people with you in the transformation journey, it's not something that you're building for a successful future.
I agree. So,
You can say that again.
what would I heard it reflected? Human is the most important aspect in everything that we do. Then we use the technology in everything that we do. Okay, so Sangeeta, third question. You've also pioneered AI-driven financial solutions in your work. How do you see technologies like AI reshaping the role of CFOs and finance teams today?
Very pertinent, and especially when we are talking about transformation, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. I think it's no longer an elephant in the room, or should I say AI in the boardroom. So, AI it's everywhere around us, and I don't think it's only in professional, but it's also there in our personal lives. We see it everywhere around us. For me, I think when we talk about technological innovations, Rasika, maybe I would just like to step back and say, about 20 years ago when we used to talk about automation, etc., we used to talk about macros. We used to say, I have automated a whole process and things can take care of itself. What we are seeing in terms of AI now is I think 100 or maybe even 1,000 times more than what we were talking about then. But it's also shifting our role, especially in finance, from maybe scorekeepers to storytellers to strategists. And here I would really like to emphasize on this one point. It's not replacing humans. To me, I think we have to really see it as an enabler, a tool which is helping us to probably do things at lightning speed, which are mundane, which are transactional, which are repetitive, so that it allows us to free up time for focusing on more strategic things. The CFO of tomorrow actually needs human skills more than ever. And I think this is probably a bold and provocative statement that I would like to make, and the reason why I say so is because you need the humans to interpret. You need the human judgment. You need humans to influence this AI to do better. You need to guide it. And last but not the least, I think you need humans to really take an ethical call at the end of it. So it's all about compliance, ethical values, and also encouraging the system to provide us with options which we can then decide which is the right one. So I think embracing technology also is a calculated risk-taking approach that we humans have to really adopt. And it's about all continuous learning as we do this. To me, Rasika, the real power is in asking better questions and not just getting faster answers. That's how I would like to see, AI today.
Next question. People development and cross-cultural collaboration are major pillars of your leadership style. How do you build and nurture high-performing teams across different cultures and markets?
So, like we said, technology can give us all the data, but we really need human wisdom in order to know what to do with it. And we also need empathy to understand what are the concerns, and we need human courage to take tough calls. So, at the end of it, if it's all about humans, then it's all about the team. It's all about the people that you work around with you. To me, I use, for two or three things which really is my natural self when I look at leading teams or looking at, helping and working better is one, to be really able to understand what are their strengths, what are their dreams, what do they aspire to be when they come to their jobs every day. And the third one is to say, I bring my true self. So it's like I don't know everything. So I'm there to learn as well. So I'm also modeling something which I would like to call as authentic vulnerability, if I may say so. So while it's about authentic leadership, which we've all heard of, a leader is not somebody who has the answers to everything or who is able to provide a solution to every problem. But a leader is someone who can collectively with the team say, hey, I don't know this, but I have probably an experience of something similar. Maybe you have something to add to this, so let's collectively look at tackling situations at work together. So for me, it's about celebrating cultural differences, while uniting the shared purpose that we have at work. It also is one genuine thing. I love to see my people develop. I love to hear when we have team members wanting to raise their hand and take on newer roles, take on newer careers outside of the company as well. It could not only mean, internal moves. It could be cross-functional moves. It could be cross-country moves. It could be even into a completely different sector. So it gives me pride to genuinely watch them grow. I ask them questions, I learn with them, I coach them, mentor them. But in the end, I think what I also love to tell them is I trust you and I trust your judgment. And this is not for the sake of just saying. They also know that when something is not going right, I would speak up. So it's about building that psychological safety with the team to know that they can come, they can talk, they can speak their mind. They can also say when things are not going right, and they would know that we can bring across a solution which will be working for all of us together. So for me, it's also a payback or a pay it forward, because in my life, I've had mentors, I've had seniors who have really helped me, coached me to look beyond what I can see. Sometimes, you're in a blind spot. You can only look at obvious solutions or obvious career moves. But I have been privileged. I've been honored to have people who helped me, pushed me, nudged me to take on risks and also look at roles which are beyond my comfort zone. So I'm trying to do kind of the same for the people in my team as well, or anybody who works with me. So that's what I really love to do.
I love how you worded each and every answers, Sangeeta. It came out very well.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Last but not least, Sangeeta, you are a leader who emphasizes both performance excellence and holistic well-being. How do you balance business outcomes with human connection in the workplace?
So Rasika, if I may, I want to challenge you. This idea that we have to always balance, you have to do work-life balance, you have to balance performance and human connection. To me, I think both are on the same side. You cannot have human connection without having a performance excellence, and you can't have performance excellence if you don't have very good human connection. So they are actually on the same side. You cannot really look at them in isolation. And for me, it's a false dichotomy that human connection doesn't compete with performance. It actually enables it. So sustainable excellence requires people who need to feel valued. So when people feel valued, they are extremely productive at work. They want to excel. They also are willing to go beyond. They are not trying to hold back and say, oh, I have done my job, but they stretch it when they know what they do matters. So leading with empathy, but without compromising on accountability. I think that's one extremely crucial mantra that I really like to practice when I'm looking at, achieving performance excellence, but I would never say it's at the cost of well-being. Well-being is not a nice to have. I think it's a strategic imperative that we need, not only for retaining our people, but also for them to know that they can bring their best selves to work. It also fuels a lot of innovation. And this also happens when you can give them clear expectations. You can give them an environment where they feel supported, but at the same time, they know that their goals will be challenged, they will be stretched, but they are happy because they will have the authentic recognition when they perform. So I think it's a combination. It's result focused along with understanding where the person wants to go. So if we can marry this two or three things, then at the end of the day we are all humans. We want to work together. And I think people, when they feel cared for, like I said, they're really willing to move mountains. And to me, it's not soft leadership; it's smart business when you do that. So that's something which I like to practice always regarding this.
I agree. Sangeeta, it was wonderful today. It was always great to hear the story behind the leadership and the work, and I know our audience appreciates the insight you have shared so far.
I'm grateful as well, Rasika, for this global journey that I've been on. Every country, every challenge, every person around me, I have learned a lot from each one of them. And I'm always excited, about what's ahead, especially we are in this super AI generation, the next generation of finance leaders. They understand that numbers tell stories about people, and our job is to make them do it. So thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity and providing this platform. I would like to thank Fortinus Events, and in fact looking forward to the grand seminar and the event on 22nd Jan in Manila. I'm looking forward to not only share my perspectives, but a lot more willing to hear the industry leaders from finance, from HR, and all across, because I think that's what keeps me going. It's something which I'm really passionate about. So looking forward to really seeing leaders face to face and interacting with them.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta.
Thank you.
So to all our listeners, if you want to catch more of her insights and be part of one of the most important finance gatherings of the year, make sure you join us there next year in Manila, Philippines on 22nd January. So Sangeeta, thank you again for being with us. And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. Namaste. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta.
Thank you.